Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Before we get into this video, if you could just hit that button down below, that would massively help me out. We are so close now to 10k, and I think we can do it just before the Everton game if everybody pulls their weight and hits that button down below. So before we get into this one though, if you want any Leeds United kit, any official stuff, make sure you go to the link in the description or the link up in the cards there, and you will be able to get the Leeds United stuff, and I'll get a small affiliate kickback at no extra cost to you. Also, if you want to support me as a creator and as a designer as well, you can go over to the Etsy shop and have a look at my Leeds United artwork designed and created by me, and that is down in the description as well. Anyway, today's video is about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, first of all, I want to say, before I get comments being called a happy clapper or whatever people like to say, if he is going to sign, then I'm going to be positive about him and hope for the best from him. So this video is basically, hopefully, a well-reasoned and a fair look at what Dominic Calvert-Lewin might be able to offer Leeds United and how he might fit into the system as well, because I think that's important. So first of all, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is 28 years old and he is 6'2.5". He is strong and he is physical and he fits the profile of what we're looking for. So when we're looking for a striker, we're looking for, in a system that we are now going to play a bit of a 4-3-3, where you need to get your striker to be able to hold onto the ball and get players around them to be able to create things. Calvert-Lewin kind of fits that option. A lot of the time, Perry might have to go long with his goal kicks, or Jakobijol or Joe Rodon might have to send the ball long, and somebody like Dominic Calvert-Lewin is somebody who can really provide that aerial support and that ability to bring the ball down with his chest, head, or first touch and kind of have that in there. And that's backed up by some of the statistics as well. When we look at his progressive passes received, 6.26 per 90 puts him in the top 23%. So the Everton players, when they've played, when he's played for them, have trusted him to receive the ball in the final third, and they've played it into his feet for him to be able to hold it up and get other players around him. So that's obviously very good. A few of the other little key statistics to kind of get an idea of who he is as a player is he likes to take a decent amount of shots. 2.8 per 90 puts him up in the 73rd percentile. He likes to carry the ball a bit and take people on, which is not something that people particularly associate with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but certainly something that he's got in his skill set. So when we look at his progressive carries up at 1.29 per 90 and his successful take-ons at 0.56 per 90, that puts him at the 57th percentile and the 47th percentile respectively, i.e. he is better than 50% of people, or doing it more often than 50% of strikers in Europe's top 5 leagues. So it's a decent kind of statistic to have, and it shows he's got that ability to do that within his skill set. The other thing as well is his kind of pressing ability and his ability to be a decent kind of defensive asset as well. Interceptions, 0.39 per 90, puts him in the top 8% of forwards in Europe's top 5 leagues. So he's intercepting the ball a lot. That means he's pressing high, he's winning the ball back in decent areas, or he's also defending well as well. Clearances, 1.29 per 90, 86th percentile, so he's back in the box, he's making headers and he's taking them away. And that kind of bears out with his aerials one up at 4.75 per 90, putting him in the top 8%. So again, with that hold-up play, that really kind of gives you an idea of how often he'll win those aerial balls. And if you are going to put balls in the box, there's a good chance you can get on the end of those as well. So that's the kind of player profile then for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That's who he is as a player. But let's look at his scoring record. Now, I know this is something that people have kind of leveled at him. His scoring record is one of the other main things that you need to look at. So last season, he started... We look at starts a lot of the time here, because when you actually look at his matches played, he might have only come on in the 85th minute or the 80th minute and only had 10 minutes in a game. So he's not going to be prolific in those. So we'll talk about starts rather than matches played. So last season, 19 matches started, 3 goals, 1 assist. The season before that, you'll be able to see all this on screen. But the important thing is that when you get up here to the 2019-2020 season and the 2020-2021 season, he scored 13 goals in the first season and 16 goals in the second season. And those were under managers like Carlo Ancelotti and potentially Marco Silva as well. he had his best ever seasons in those moments. I've seen people say that Leeds are not going to play attacking football this season, so it won't make a difference. But Everton have been one of the lowest scoring sides in the Premier League over the last a lot of seasons, let's put it that way. And Calvert-Lewin is somebody who needs a little bit more support around him. Yes, he's able to create things on his own. Yes, he's done that well enough to get starts for England. But what I will say is that it's going to make a little bit of a difference to me having that extra support in the attack. Now, I'm not saying that Leeds are going to be playing Bielsa ball and the heavy metal football that we saw the last time we kind of in the Premier League. But what I will say is that Leeds were able in the Championship to get their fullbacks forward a lot. And we're still going to do that in the Premier League. The point being that the number 10 is going to be sacrificed and dropped back into the midfield, and we'll play with a more solid 3 in midfield. Now, that means that some of the onus for the creative play is going to be on the wingers and the attacker more. But it also allows your fullbacks to have the freedom to get high and wide. So you're going to have Gabriel Goodmanson, Dan James, Nonto, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Bogle, let's say, as a 5 across the front line, which is enough to outnumber a back 4. So then they start having to pull more players back, and it means they're not as good on the counter-attack, etc., etc. But what it does mean is that Leeds, I think, will still throw fullbacks forward. And you can tell that they will, because the philosophy was, let's buy Gabriel Goodmanson, who is a very good attacking fullback, who is not amazing defensively. He's competent, but his main attribute is going forward. So Leeds will play more attacking football than what he's used to at Everton, and hopefully that will help him out. That's the other thing. Now, the third thing to look at, and of course very important, is his injury record. So when we have a look at it, it's extensive, but it's not as bad as people think. In fact, actually, I don't need to go and look at his injury record. When we have a look at his matches played, out of a 38-game season last season, he played 19 games, so exactly half. The season before that, he played 26 games. That starts. In terms of actual games played, 26 games last season he was fit for, 32 the season before, 17 the previous 2 seasons, 33 and 36 games in the ones that I was talking about where he scored 13 and 16 goals respectively, 35 goals before that, 35 matches played before that, 32 before that. He has had, for the most part, at least half a season as a kind of usable asset for Everton for every single season he's been there. So it's not as bad particularly as you think. Yes, he misses matches, but we've also got backup strikers like Joel Peru and Lucas Mecha. And the reason that I mention Lucas Mecha and Joel Peru as well is because the responsibility for scoring goals will be shared between our 3 strikers. Potentially we could go out and get another one, but we won't mention that for now. And I think that between Joel Peru, between Lucas Mecha and between Dominic Calvert-Lewin, they are more than capable of getting between 15 and 20 goals in a Premier League season. Now, if you had a striker, say we signed Rodrigo Muniz and he scored 17 goals, all from a starting place, essentially your output and your contribution is the same as having 3 strikers who have goals that add up to that amount. So I think it raises morale for people like Mecha and Peru, because they will both believe that they have the ability and the quality to challenge Dominic Calvert-Lewin for that first team spot. So that probably will raise the level of all 3 of them trying to fight out for that spot. And potentially whoever scores the goal in the game is the one that gets to play the next game. So you can see how that's kind of a healthy competition morale booster for those strikers. And then, of course, the last point is we may still go out and buy another striker. I have a feeling that Dominic Calvert-Lewin might be an insurance policy, basically to say, if we don't manage to get another one in by the deadline day, let's take this risk now, get a free transfer in for Calvert-Lewin, ex-England striker, somebody who has the ability to score goals in the Premier League and has done consistently for the last 9 seasons at Everton. I think that gives you an idea of kind of this transfer. I think it's a little risk with maybe a lot of reward to basically say, if we don't get somebody else, at least we've got 3 competent strikers who can score a goal. So that's the way I look at it. Of course, we've been linked with the Greek striker from Panathinaikos, Fotis Ioannidis. Need to have a little bit more of a look into him, and potentially if it becomes more of a concrete rumour and we put a bid in for him, we might see some more videos on the channel about him, so look out for that. But that's my general kind of thoughts on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like, he's not a world beater, and he is slightly underwhelming as a signing. But I think if you're looking at as a 3 for a newly promoted side, I think it's decent. And do you know what? The other thing as well, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin is better than Marc Giu. I think that's how you say his name. The Chelsea youngster that signed for Sunderland. And I think he's probably better than Armando Broja, who signed for 20 million from Burnley. So for Burnley, sorry, from Chelsea. So look, when you look at it like that, I think it's not a bad move. But I would like to see a lot more business coming in. Well, tonight there'll be a live stream video where we talk more in depth about all these transfers, and you can kind of get your comments and get your thoughts and feelings across, and we'll have a long chat about that. Then on Saturday, you've got the Everton preview. On Sunday, you've got a video about Noah Okafor. And then on Monday night, Leeds United are playing Everton in the Premier League. So loads of good stuff to stick around for. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately. Let me know what you think of Dominic Calvert-Lewin down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.